Hi there, it's Ravit and Murray on the Nasty Divorces podcast. Just to remind you, we are not lawyers or therapists. We are two divorced parents on a mission to demystify nasty divorces, understand why nasty divorces are becoming an epidemic, and the problems we see in today's divorces. Today we have with us Audrey Greenberg.
And boy, has Audrey ever got some special qualifications that she brings to this table. Bachelor's degree in psychology. I took psychology once. We'll talk about that later. Master's degree in education. Over a dozen specialized certification in certain types of change management, leadership, service excellence. I like the fact as well that you've also worked in the corporate world, which can be a mean little old place to work. So we'll talk about that, or at least we have that as knowing you've been down that road. So anyway, very highly qualified, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you. All right. So today's topic, we wanted to talk about the changes in children. Regardless of the age, whether they're male, females, there are certain commonalities with children and things that we should be, as parents, watching out for, triggers we should pay attention to. So, what are the main changes that we can expect from children?
Everything. Children especially, the most changes happen in children. If you look at our lifespan, that's where all of it's really happening. So if we're talking about during a divorce, sure, they're going through the changes of where they're living and who they're living with and all of that. However, at the same time, they're also going through physical changes that are brand new to them and puzzling. They're going through school changes, they're going through sibling changes, they're trying to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives, figuring out who they are. Their life is constant change.
And they're very vulnerable, I would imagine, as these changes are wrought upon them. It can confuse them.
Right.
And I guess divorce or mom and dad fighting can add to that confusion, and you really have to watch it. They're very fragile at this stage, aren't they?
They're fragile, but they're resilient, which is great.
Okay.
Sometimes we can learn a lot from them. But as we know, change is hard for anybody at any age, anywhere. We're very resistant to change.
We just talked about that before. We just did a show on changes for adults, and we were talking about how you're so overwhelmed with change all the time. It's like a never-ending situation where something new comes up every day, and I can just imagine how hard it is for the kids.
Right. So what is constant in life, right? We have death, we have taxes. Anything else you look at is changing constantly.
True.
And so if the parents are having a difficult time managing change and coping with change, you can just imagine kids who are kind of brand new to the world having to go through even more all at the same time, trying to figure out how to get their stability. It's difficult.
So do you think that the kids of all ages suffer the same way when it comes to divorces?
I think it's all a matter of perception and how it's presented to them. Younger kids, if you present it as something, this is just normal that's happening and this is just what's going to be happening. You're having two houses and 2 rooms and 2 sets of toys. Young kids don't really know any different. They haven't experienced all of the community expectations and definitions of family. So they're like, oh, okay. Older kids who are going through a divorce, maybe in their late teens, or sometimes your parents are divorcing when you're in your 20s or 30s. That's a long lifetime of habits and expectations and routines and definition of who you are and what the family is to all of a sudden change.
Yeah, and I know that after speaking to many children who are products of divorce, one of the major comments that you hear out of them is, I'm never getting married.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of scary, right? Because you're thinking, well, what's going to happen with marriage?
I hear that, and it has changed. If you look at the number of people who marry, and now all of a sudden people are living together instead.
Wow.
And if you really think about it, is that any different than a marriage? Because when you're living together for years and separate, it feels like a divorce. The emotions are all the same. Everything's the same. The only thing that's different is really the perception of it. So you've signed a paper, but what is?
And you got a nice big ring.
Right.
I told my kids, as a matter of fact, you don't have to be married to be happy.
Absolutely.
And you don't. And 2 of them are married, and a third is about to be married. So I guess my my suggestions or my advice has fallen on deaf ears because, yeah, okay, well, that was you, Dad. Or it may be a reflection of that both her mother and I took the time to make sure that they knew that where they were always loved, no matter what. You try not to fight in front of them. You try, because remember that it's still mom and dad to them.
Yeah.
You can have all the differences in the world you have with them for all the reasons you have, but you can't denigrate the other in front of your children because, again, you're denigrating dad, you're denigrating mom. Not cool.
You know what? I have such a difference in my parents divorced also,
Oh, really?
and they had the easiest, most amicable, like picture painting, like beautiful scenery divorce compared to what I had. And we do dinners together and we do holidays together where my mom and my dad and us kids and the grandkids, everyone's together.
Oh.
I can't tell you that that's happened with my ex-husband, but my kids are learning from both, right? They're realizing that their grandparents can get along, and they ask sometimes, well, if your grandparents can get along and be in the same room, why can't you and dad be in the same room? The grandparents talk to each other nicely, and we're sitting around and we're laughing and all that. But however much I know it's complicating and difficult for them to see both, at least they do get to see both. At least they get to see that there is something better out there.
Absolutely. And it's great that they see both because what's important to learn in life is that everything's not black and white.
Yes.
It's all gray, and that's all okay. So it's okay that you don't celebrate, with your ex during their birthday parties, and that's fine. And it's okay that your friend does.
Yeah.
And they're both okay. One's not better than the other. One's not right and one's not wrong. It's just different.
So you actually bring up a good point. So birthday parties, I know that it's always such a sensitive point. You have the party at your house, you have the party at his house, you have the party at school, and then you have a
neutral territory.
A neutral territory party. Yeah. So, I mean, I can imagine it's exciting for them because they get a multiple amount of gifts, which is always fun. But do you think that they feel bad or sad in a way that they have to split up with so many people and they can't just sort of do it together?
I think it depends on how it goes. If they've done it all together and they felt uncomfortable, then it might be a relief to say, okay, I don't have to go through that. I get to have two, and it becomes like a month-long celebration.
Yes.
But it's definitely different from the way I grew up. One big family friend party. And now all of a sudden, for my own kids, I find that, okay, so what do you want to do on the day of your birthday? And then how do we see both parents around and on the day of your birthday? And then how do we celebrate with my side of the family? And then another day with his side of family. And then with friends, it really becomes like a month-long marathon to get through that.
Jeez.
So
You got to watch it too, because the kids can't begin to start thinking that it's okay to continually have this party, this all these gifts.
Yeah.
Like it should, may I suggest, only be one day, and be as undifferent is not a word. Be as the same as their friends who still have mom and dad living in their home.
But you have one party for your friends, but then you have
No. I wasn't explaining it properly. If today is their son's birthday, I think that should be the only day that you celebrate. And the parents have to adjust and make accommodation, not having a birthday but at his place, the one at your place, and see everybody still loves you and all of that. I just have this feeling that if you overwhelm them with you are really loved and all of that, it's only one day of birthday. I'm still not getting it out right.
I get what you're saying. You'd like that all the celebrations should be combined into one day. So let's say one parent takes the afternoon, one takes the evening.
No. Put aside your stupidities.
Oh, well, that's in like a picture-perfect world.
Well,
yes.
No, it's not. No, be mature about it. Be an adult.
Yeah.
Put away your dumb attitude toward your ex and go to the house and have his friends, her friends over, have the party, and then, and serve the cake together. Serve the hot dogs together. Get your crap out of the way and think of the kids. and not have this. That's all I'm suggesting.
You know what? I think that we should. I think we should consider adopting Murray's birthday party celebration style, because it does make sense.
Okay,
but I know that it wouldn't work for a lot of people.
There's too much anger and animosity.
Yes, that's the problem. Is that you come from such a different world, right? And I'm so happy for you, and I'm learning so much. Wink, wink, no jealousy, right? Inserted. But it's not all peaches and cream. We can't all do that. We it's not just about our egos. There could be years of animosity, years of issues, years of whatever. Sometimes there's abuse involved. We can't do that. The question is, the kids have to adjust to whatever we can do. I mean, if we all divorced the Murray way, then we could have the Murray birthday party.
I'm not suggesting that it's all peaches and cream in the Murray way. I'm saying that...
it's peachier and creamier.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll give you that. But what I'm suggesting is that if you're going to have a divorce, have your anger, deal with all of that stuff. I'm not suggesting there's no anger and there's no animosity.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for that one particular day, if you happen to have 2 or 3 kids, shut up and do the right thing by your kids. Do the right thing by your kids. Make sure that, okay, this is going to be a tough day for me.
Yeah, take a Valium in the morning.
I got to go to my ex's house. And this is the guy thinking, I'm not for her.
Yeah.
I got to go to my ex's house and I got to be cool. Everything's going to be, she's going to say some things that'll just be a little sarcastic comment about, oh, you always did do it that way, didn't you? As the cake, let's say, falls somewhere. So, whatever. Just back off and accept the fact that just for this one day only, I'm going to be nice.
Oh, wow.
And then you can go back to being the jerk you were when you leave the house that night or that afternoon.
Or
at least for
out.
Your children, you haven't embarrassed your child in front of his or her friends. Yes. And you've taken care of the fact that there should be only one thing on your mind when it comes to you and the kids in a divorce, is that they always know they're loved.
Yeah. That's right. I like the Murray way. I should have divorced Murray.
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't be here right now.
For you.
Oh, I'm home. Sort of all that. What do you think?
I think that they will know that they're always loved.
Yeah.
If we just talk about birthday parties, we just look at that.
Yep.
Ideally, yes. However, if you look at what goes into planning and executing a birthday party, it touches on a lot of things: organizational skills, the budget, the expectations of what it should look like to other people.
You mean like the budget? Who's going to pay?
Who's paying and how much should we spend on it? Everything that goes involved.
Oh, yeah, because Murray's birthday party is going to be hot dogs, but Ravit's birthday party might be hamburgers and party sandwiches. So, Are you going to pay for the party sandwiches, or are you going to be against it?
Right. If you look at it, all that planning, all of that has to deal with communication and getting on the same page, and that's probably not what the marriage, the couple were great at to begin with, because if they were, it might have gone smoother. True. So now you're taking the exact same issues, but doing it more, separately, trying to find the time to talk about it. Maybe you don't want to be talking to each other, agreeing on it. That's really difficult. If you were able to do that so wonderfully, you'd probably still be together. So doing it in that kind of environment, it can be challenging. And then you have, other personalities that come in. So maybe new significant others.
Oh, yes.
That have their own opinions.
Mary's sexy new younger girlfriend who's hotter than I am. I might have a problem if she walks into my birthday party. It makes me feel like I'm old and ugly.
Whoa.
And it's a little so what's in the best interest of the children, knowing that they are loved and knowing that it's the most peaceful day going on, it sometimes is more peaceful to do it separately.
I would suggest we don't bring our newly found love to the birthday party.
Well, you're a sexy little lady.
20 years.
Yeah. Oh, how are you going to tell your girlfriend, sorry, honey, I love you, but you can't come to my kid's birthday?
And if half the time they're living with that new girlfriend,
they have a relationship.
Years, it's like a surrogate mother or stepmom, but you can't come to the birthday party. Yeah.
Did it just get a little complicated for Murray in his perfect world of divorce?
I was at. I had this other little perfect world going over here, and all of a sudden,
now we're doubting you.
Well, after 10 years, surely to God, the other who, whatever, you've accepted the others. New love.
Have you?
I don't know. Some people do, some don't.
All part of change. If it's dealt with effectively, you get to the acceptance phase. a lot of people in a lot of situations, they never get there, and that's why people have a really hard
Sure.
time with changes.
Oh,
So
They
they
haven't
li-
gotten to acceptance yet,
So they
and
live
they
a
might
life,
never.
live a life of angst and anger.
And fear and anxiety.
Their
They're
whole
stuck.
stupid life.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
wasting their life away and they don't
Yes.
even realize
Well, that's
it.
just nonsense.
Well,
And it happens.
let's go tell everyone that, Murray.
Percentage-wise, is it the majority of people live in this angry world?
In terms of high conflict divorces, there's quite a bit.
In terms, yes.
60% of the population is divorcing in Quebec.
Okay.
Of those, 30% need some assistance by mediators or lawyers.
Okay.
Of those 30%, 15% of them are in high conflict, meaning that they're having this nasty divorce and can't talk. Yeah, despise each other, can't talk to each other,
All their
can't be in the same
friggin'
room.
lives.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully not, but until they wake up and smell the coffee. So yeah.
And so the perception changes. So an example of a perception, right? If your ex has a new significant other and you're looking at her, let's say, as, oh my God, she is cold, she's changed him, she's a little more loose with her morals. You know how, I don't want to say
Yes.
the word, but we think
Yeah.
might think of that way of her.
Yeah.
A negative influence on my child. What is she teaching them? Or you look at it as you're grateful. Oh, thank goodness. She's there and she fed my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of how I feel about her, she's there. If she's there and she's helping and she's feeding my kids that day or helping to drive them somewhere, well, then you've gotten to acceptance. You've looked at it a little differently, and then you can kind of get along with your life a lot easier. But if you're still stuck in that anger and she's so different and she's younger and she's more beautiful or she whatever,
Then I have a problem with you, Murray.
What did she do? Like, what did she do with you today? And
Yes, asking a lot of
how dare
questions.
she serve that? You're not supposed to eat that, and it can go down very differently depending on
And
your
she might,
perception
and she might see,
acceptance.
and she might serve the grilled cheese sandwich on multigrain bread and not whole wheat bread like I do all the time. And then I'm going to get all pissy.
Because I use white bread.
No, because she used multigrain and I use whole wheat. Because she changed the way we do things. That's what it's all about.
So you divorce let's say you're 35.
Yeah.
And you divorce. Some people, are you telling me this, will go into their 60s with this anger?
Oh, I've heard of that.
In their 70s?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They go to their deathbed
What a
carrying
horrible-
on that anger. Can you believe it that they would go that far?
That's a horrible way to live.
It is, but people are still doing it.
And we only go around once, may I suggest.
That's right.
So
Right.
at the end of your life, sitting in your rocking chair, well, that was a stupid way to live. That's got to cross their mind.
Yeah, but then they
Or
ask
they're
for the
so
apology
angry
on
it's-
their.
It's changed their brains to the point where it's actually normal.
It becomes part of them.
But
It
change
becomes
is-
who they are.
it brings up the point. Why is change so difficult? It's so hard. It's because it's become a habit. It's ingrained in neuroscience and our neural pathways of this is how I think about the world. This is how I behave in the world. This is how I feel about it.
So the
And if
neural
that
path-
doesn't change,
Yeah.
it continues and it gets reinforced. The more you think that way, it gets more reinforced. It's like a groove in the road.
The neural pathways, you're suggesting that there are actually physical changes in your brain,
Yes, absolutely.
and you just can't help think the way you are
Absolutely,
thinking.
unless you specifically change them. So, for example,
Wow.
you take the same way to work every day.
Yep.
Okay, and all of a sudden we have all this construction, right?
Mhm.
So what happens? You have to take a different way. Now, when you go the same way all the time, are you consciously driving there?
No.
You're on autopilot.
Exactly.
Okay, same thing with emotions. You're fixated. You get on that.
Yeah.
And it just becomes natural. That's the first emotion that comes up because you're so used to it. You make a change and then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Now I have to go somewhere else. I have to think about it. I have to remember to do that. And, but then all of a sudden the new route takes hold. You keep doing it over and over. You practice it. And now your new autopilot is to go the new route.
So if
to
somebody's listening to our show now, and they are in this, do you even recognize, I'll just ask the question, but don't give me an answer just yet. Do they even recognize that they're on this horrible way of living? They don't even know it. Okay, fair enough. Is there a way of going to them and saying, the way you're doing things here is absolutely moronic? I'm sure the gentler words would be used. You might want to try this. Can you get people out of that rut and get them back to quote unquote normal?
Absolutely. It's about understanding and recognizing the stages of change and recognizing that this is where you are in the process. You might be stuck in one phase, and these are the ways to get you to acceptance. and to change your perception. So the 5 stages of change is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Oh.
And it's all guiding them through that, making sure they don't get stuck, learning the coping mechanisms of effectively going through each of those stages, recognizing that everyone's at different stages of that at some point, and getting to acceptance. And once you get there, things go a lot smoother.
And then I guess at that point, it would be a lot easier for the kids, right? When their parents are dealing with their anger and their frustration and not lashing out. Because one of the worst things that kids can feel is one parent backstabbing the other parent, or bad-mouthing, or, or using the child as their therapist. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, why would you air out all your dirty laundry to your child? Why does your child need to know all these things? I don't get it.
Well, because, may I suggest, from my uneducated perspective, you did that to me. This is the guy talking about his life. You did that to me. Well, you're going to pay. And then it becomes a personal vendetta.
Absolutely.
And you think your mom is so great? Well, check this out. Look what she did to you.
And from this point of view, so I've gone through this, and I had an amicable divorce. However, afterwards, some things came up, and in explaining it to my kids, sometimes looking at it from this perspective, and I didn't always look at it this way. When their dad was feeling a little angry and saying things or whatever, I said, you know what? Let's look at it from the outside. He's just in the anger phase right now. He's not really feeling himself. This is not like him. So, you can forgive it. It's okay. It's going to pass.
That's very cool of you.
He's through the anger. He will get there. And in the meantime, you just continue going about running your life, doing your life. Let's continue.
Good idea.
And that's what happens. And it made it a lot easier. But
the problem is, what if the father doesn't end up getting out of this phase? What do you tell the child? He's stuck in there forever?
He's stuck, but you still get to choose your reaction to it.
True.
You don't have to engage. You don't have to have it affect your emotions. You can react to it differently. It's all in how you look at it.
So in terms of kids, let's say they're bad-mouthing their father, okay, just because that's the conversation you were on. What can a parent say to get the child to respect the father, to not always look at all the father's negative traits, and to, is it the child who's having a hard time adjusting to the change? Is it that the child sees that the father's having a hard time? What?
Wayne Dyer says, when you change what you focus on changes. So if you keep talking about the negative behavior, the anger that's coming from the parent, and look what he did this time, and you get into that habit of that. Well, you won't believe what he did this time. Oh, tell me all about it. What happened? You're going to reinforce constantly looking at the anger and the negative behaviors that are coming out. If you listen, and then your next question is, so what went well? Where did you have fun with him? Because they might have had fun 98% of the time in the week that they were there, but that one time that there was an angry exchange, if that's all you're talking about, they're going to walk in the door. You won't believe what he did and whatever. But if you change the focus and say, okay, I'm sorry to hear that happened. Okay, so what went well? What did you do? What else happened? And then you start writing down what went well and why it went well. It changes the focus. And then that you start to look for, oh, cool, this went well. And you start to look at that.
I remember many times at a certain period where my kids used to come back home, and I used to sort of like pick them up. I remember on a Sunday, and I used to dread the Sunday pickups. Because the second they got into the car, there was a whole list of bads. And I don't like it, and I don't want to go there anymore, and I hate it, and all these things. And I used to go nuts on Sundays, and I used to feel so stressed out because I thought to myself, I don't understand. How is it that it's always bad? How is it that there's not, what change were they going through, the kids, at that very time to make them feel like, I don't know, like all they should do is complain, and I'm not the one who wants to listen to the complaints. Like I had my plate overloaded already. I didn't need anything extra.
Right.
And believe me, I wasn't looking to instigate. I And I'm a firm believer that however even shitty the father is, the children still need a mother and a father. Okay, so if the father's great, even better, and even if he's not so great, okay, I'm not talking about like a criminal or something, but
Amateur psychologist Murray has got a proposal. Let's see what the professional thinks.
Okay.
Is were your children feeding you what they felt you needed?
No, because I didn't want those stories.
Let's check the question. That was a comma.
Oh.
Just because I took a breath doesn't mean you jump in.
Okay.
So, and are you giving your children, maybe not knowingly, subconsciously, giving them information that they knew would, you know what I mean?
No, I think they just didn't have a good time there. And the reason is because I wasn't the one who was looking for the stories. Yes. I really wasn't. Oh. I would do exactly what she said. Okay, tell me something positive. Think 5 positive things. I'm always looking for solutions with my kids, even till today, after all these years. Yeah. My thing is that I think that they had a hard time there because they were comparing his house with my house. At my house, we do a lot of stuff and a lot of activities, and at his house, maybe they don't. At my house, there's a lot more nurturing, love, and care. And at his house, maybe there wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't there. In my house, I would never introduce a guy unless he was a solid guy that was staying into my life or trying to be. Yeah. In their dad's, maybe not. So I think that it was also a comfort level for them is where did they feel safer, more secure? What do you think?
You both bring up interesting and accurate points. For sure, if you look at it, you said that the difference, maybe they were busier at your house and not as busy at his house. As you can see, from week to week or every few days, their life changed.
Yeah.
And were they having some trouble adapting to that? So here I'm busy, my day is structured, I know what to expect and what to look forward to, and there's no plan. I have no idea. True. Am I going to be watching TV all day? And now they have to adjust. And how are they managing that adjustment, that change? Yes. It changes on them every few days.
That's true. So basically, we have a lot to talk about, and Audrey has a whole load of information to provide. We are going to have a few other podcasts, one dedicated to moms and changes, one dedicated to dads and changes, and the other one dedicated to grandparents. Yes. That's right. So stay tuned, and thank you for tuning in and listening in. Have yourself a day that matters. See you next time.